You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
RCMP are looking for a man they say exposed himself multiple times at a pet store in Sherwood Park. RCMP say this is the second time the man has done this at that business.
He mentioned that he has wealthy family in Saudi Arabia who are billionaires.
He looked at my buddy and he was just like, "Is that belt leather?" And my buddy was just like, I guess so.
You were listening to Canadian Gothic.
Miss Madelayne Klein, can you believe it's episode 33 of Encounters with Creeps?
And you know what? That's so perfect because I'm 33 on Tuesday.
What? It's almost your birthday?
It is almost my birthday.
I'm going to do what I can to release volume 33 on Madelayne Klein's 33rd birthday, Tuesday.
Oh, perfect. May 12th, the best day of the year. May 12th, 1993, the best day ever in history. Are we agreeing to disagree, or?
No, I'll go with it. I'm here to make friends. I'll go with it. So as we do it on Encounters with Creeps, we're going to have our listener-contributed stories involving creep encounters throughout the listener's history. But we do have several modern-day creeps that found their way into the news. We usually only use one or two of these in an episode, but there's been so many good ones lately, so many disturbing ones that I got to include them. Let's hear a story coming out of Sherwood Park, Alberta. I would say I'm excited to tell you, but it's so sick and so weird that I don't want to hype it up in any way. I'm just going to tell you about it. Police in Sherwood Park, Alberta are looking for a man accused of exposing himself not once, but twice to employees at a Pet Value pet store. Here's the story of the man that couldn't keep his pants on at this pet shop.
RCMP are looking for a man they say exposed himself multiple times at a pet store in Sherwood Park. Monty say last Friday night the man entered the store off Baseline Road and Broadmoor Boulevard. They say he exposed his genitals twice to a female employee. RCMP say this is the second time the man has done this at that business. It also happened back in February. He exposed and touched his genitals in front of an employee. The man is described as a white man in his early 30s with an average build and light brown or dark blonde hair and a beard.
Once is weird. Twice is incredibly creepy. And not only that, it sounds like he exposed himself twice when he was in there the second time. What the heck is going on with this creep?
Anywhere is bad, but a pet store? What's happening?
And a Pet Value is kind of like a family-friendly pet store. Why of all places would the guy target this? And it's not like, doing this, exposing yourself to some random employee of some business is wrong, but you would think the places that would be a target is like some, a gas station that's open 24 hours or, a drive-through or something where someone can be safe. But a pet store, you would think they close early. There's often a person or two milling about there. Why would you do this?
And twice. So this guy isn't just like exposing himself anywhere. He is going to the pet store because he likes it there.
This specific pet, right? And they say in the newscast there, this is the second time that this guy's done that. They didn't list the other businesses he's done it to, so he seems to only be doing it at this pet store in Sherwood Park, Alberta. They have a great photo of the guy as he's walking through the front door. Security cameras pick him up. In the news clip that I just played the audio from, you see him walk in and everything. So I don't know how they didn't get this guy yet.
Interesting. This is just so odd to me.
Well, it's an encounter with a creep, surely.
Yeah, you know what? Well named, and a great way to start the episode.
Yeah, it's only going to get downhill from here. I'm going to pass the mic to a listener named Fred who wants to recommend a story that we cover, and we're going to take his suggestion. Here's what Fred had to say.
My name is Fred. The creep that I'm going to talk to you about is probably one of the worst. He was just arrested in Edmonton. If you take a look at the news, you know what I'm talking about. And I've met the guy, and he was always very suspicious to me. However, I'm sure that there's going to be way worse that will come of him.
So this is kind of in the middle between an encounter with a creep and a creep that's in the news. It's the encounter because Fred says I met this guy and he seemed a little sketchy, but it's a creep that's in the news because I took Fred's suggestion, and yes, he is correct. There is a very disturbing story playing out in Edmonton. We can refer to it as the Edmonton dating app alleged creep, aka the William McMullen case. Listen to this madness.
According to police, William McMullen communicated with the women in 4 separate incidents on platforms like Facebook Dating, Bumble, and Tinder. They were later invited to his home, where police believed the women were drugged and sexually assaulted. The arrest comes after police received 1 report of a sexual assault last April. Since then, more women have come forward. A LinkedIn profile of a man with the same name and photo that appears to be McMullen is the director of a youth care facility in partnership with Alberta Children's Services. Now, Global News has reached out to the province, to which it said it cannot comment on the specifics of the case since it is before the courts. It will work with police and assist in their investigation. The co-CEO of the Sexual Assault Centre of Edmonton says, while online apps are not inherently dangerous, they are often used as tools by people who are looking to harm others. Now, based on the investigation, police believe there may be more victims and are encouraging them to come forward.
So they go through it a little quick here, but this is a guy who's alleged to have been using dating apps. One of them that they listed was Facebook Dating. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I just learned that this existed in the last year or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess Facebook got on the dating app game.
Police appeal to the public because they think there are likely other victims out there. And to make matters worse, as you heard, he's a director of kind of like a vulnerable children's group.
So I didn't think it could get worse, and then it did.
Mm.
This, he has got to be suspended, correct? There's no way he's working still.
Well, by the sounds of it, they're not willing to comment on it.
Well, they should right away.
Yeah, they should at least comment to the extent of until that's all figured out, he's not around anybody.
Their silence is worrying. Is he on a paid leave? Because that shouldn't be a thing either.
Yeah, people have issues with paid leaves, but at the same time, if there were false allegations against someone, that's a problem too. There just needs to be something written in contracts, whether it's with police or anyone who's working with vulnerable people. There should be something within your contract, like if you break a law, or if you're accused of breaking a law, we'll pay you. But at the end of it, if you're guilty, we get all that money back.
Oh, that's a good idea. You should write that in somewhere.
Okay, into contracts. I'm just going to show up at the police station.
You're like, I have a great idea.
One thing that was interesting and that I thought about in this story is just with online dating, there's a vulnerability about it. Even if the victim is not a vulnerable person like a child or someone with a disability or something, there is this vulnerability that goes with meeting someone through a dating app. There's almost like a leap of faith where it's like, I don't know you, we don't have friends in common, we don't work together, but you seem my type, let's take a chance and meet and have a coffee or whatever. I think what he's alleged to be doing is taking advantage of that leap of faith, in that them willing to open up and be a little bit vulnerable to a stranger. He's taking advantage of that. And if someone is doing that, if he's guilty of what he's charged with, it terrifies me that he'd be working with children.
I don't know. There's multiple victims. I already think he's guilty. There's for sure more victims, and I really hope none of them are underage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or were underage. Oh my gosh, that's so terrible.
Yeah, terrifying story. But thank you, Fred, for sharing that story. And for anyone else out there listening, if you have a story like this from your community that you wish to share, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and let us know about it. Because I follow the national news, but stories like this, it may seem like a big deal when it happens in your city, but it doesn't go national. I never would have known about something like this if it weren't for Fred. And I think it's a cautionary tale for everyone out there. It's, if you're dating online or if you're meeting with someone you don't, have a close connection with, either mutual friends or whatever, you're taking a chance there. And we're going to hear more stories like that as we go.
And I would just like to add, because I can see the comments now, what we're not going to do is victim blame. Because I can already see, why are they going to his house? Blah, blah, blah. And it's never, why is he raping women? So yeah, let's not victim blame. You never know what happened. Maybe they met for coffee and he was really charming and She felt safe enough to go to his house. We don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, a big part of the Encounters with Creeps series is opening the floor and passing the mic to listeners to share their encounters with creeps. We got some doozies. Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to go to Newfoundland. We always enjoy stories in Newfoundland.
Oh, my favorite.
We got some good ones. So, Madelayne, I don't know if you recall, in episode 31 of Encounters with Creeps, we heard from a listener named Brian in Newfoundland, and he told us the story of like a guy that was in the woods in Newfoundland. I think he was exposing himself to some kids who were drinking. It was this whole elaborate story.
This guy Steve comes up and he says, man, he said, I just ran into so-and-so over there in the trail on my dirt bike. And I said, what? And I said, is he okay? And he was like, man, he's like, he had his pants down. And I said, what? He's like, I came around a turn. He was stood in the trail with his pants down. And he's like, I got no brakes. I couldn't stop. And I ran right into him. He's like, but to make it like even crazier, he's like, when I ran into him, he got up, pulled up his pants and was just going, oh, no, don't worry about it. It's my fault. I shouldn't have been there. It was my fault. Don't worry about it. And he was real weird about it.
We laughed and joked about it. Brian heard us. He liked our take on it, so much so that he was willing to open up and share another creep encounter straight out of Newfoundland. So you know it's going to be a good one. This is about a liquor buying creep/weirdo.
Brian, welcome back.
What's up, Canadian Gothic? This is Brian from Newfoundland. I heard my story, Encounters with Creeps, come on the other day. I was really proud. But there's multiple creeps around our area. Like, I mean, there was another guy, he used to buy us beer, and he would walk around the town. Like, our town is like a perfect square. And he would like come in and I remember he's like, we can only buy you maximum ice. He's like, because JJ only buys maximum ice at the store. So if you don't get maximum ice, I can't buy you beer. So like we would just get maximum ice. And like I remember one time going over to his house and being like, hey JJ, you think you can get us some beer? And he turned and he looked at my buddy and he was just like, is that belt leather? And my buddy was just like, I guess so. He's like, is it real leather? I'm not sure. He's like, I got it at Zellers. Like, I don't know. He's like, take it off. And my buddy was like, why? He's like, hit me with it. He's like, what? He's like, hit me with it. He's like, I'll know when it hits me if it was real leather. And we were just like, oh, dude, like, what? So like my friend was just like, okay. Like, and he took off his belt and he just nailed this dude in the back with the belt. And the guy just went, nope. 75%, he said, and we just we're just like, what is going on? Then he just like nonchalant put his shirt back on, went over, bought us a half case of maximum ice, and we just left. And we talk about that for years. Like when we see each other, like the couple guys that were there, like we'll be like, and he used to call us little bitches. Like he'd be like, little bitch, go get me this cigarette. Little bitch, go get me a taste of that beer or whatever. Like, cause he would be around, like we'd be drinking in the woods and he would just show up and have a couple beer with us and stuff. Like, but like, it was always, you know, in good fun. But at the same time, you realize later in life that you're like, man, that guy was such a creep. And like, why did he hit him with the leather belt? Like, and how did he know that it was 75% leather? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Anyway, guys, like I think it's hilarious what you're doing. The Encounters with Creeps are very serious, you know, and you got to be watching those people, man. You got to be watching the creeps.
What a wild ride. My goodness. Oh my gosh. So I've got one main concern.
Okay.
Is he a creep or were we taking advantage of a mentally challenged man?
Or is it somewhere in the middle there? Because I don't know. There's a lot going on in that story.
We were up, we were down. I don't know where to start.
I bet you there are a lot of interesting stories that listeners would have about the person that bought them alcohol when they were underage. We've heard a couple of them on the show, but this one is just so off the wall absurd. The belt thing, when, you know, hit me with your belt, because this is a man saying that to a kid, and it isn't until after he's hit and he suggests that it's only 75% leather that Brian explains the guy has his shirt off. I didn't realize he took his shirt off.
Yeah.
And calling them little bitches, I guess.
I need to know how old this guy is and how old they were. So they obviously weren't 19. or 18,
Yeah.
whatever it is
hmm
in Newfoundland. I don't know. I want to know how old this guy was.
I'm thinking he's just based on everything that's said. I'm thinking he's like early 30s.
Right. Like I'm not picturing like someone ancient, but
hmm
also not
Ancient. How old's ancient?
ancient's like 70.
Okay, yeah, definitely not a 7-year-old because this guy's hanging out in the woods with him. So he's
Right.
kind of like when they're drinking. So that it's kind of like remember in Dazed and Confused that guy's like, I keep getting older
Matthew
and they stay the
McConaughey,
same
yeah.
age. Yeah, he's kind of. I'm thinking it's kind of like a Newfoundland simple version of
One of
that guy.
those. You know what? You're probably right. I'll bet you're right.
Mhm.
But I know Brian's listening, and I know Brian will let us know.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. What about well, is this guy a creep though? Like it's wrong to be getting the kids alcohol. It's certainly weird to be getting the kids to slap you with a belt.
Very.
It's weird to be calling them your little bitches. Is this a
I
creep?
don't know. I need to know more. But on the surface,
Mm.
what I do know right now, I don't think he's a creep. I think he's just a weirdo.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're probably right. And I think if you looked at his like test scores when this guy was in school, you'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
poor
That's
JJ."
poor JJ.
And poor Brian and them. Although Brian seems to be taking it in stride pretty well.
I wonder what JJ's doing right now as we're recording. What do you think?
Oh, he probably has a table at the local flea market in Newfoundland where he sells random crap that he finds at estate sales that he goes to on the weekend with his, he takes his grandmother's car, she lends it to him. So he goes to estate sales and yard sales, then he brings it to the flea market, and he probably has big plans of making big money by investing in Bitcoin, but he doesn't really understand what it is. He's just heard someone mention it. That's what I think JJ's up to.
I love the detail of that. I just shed some light. What kind of beer did he get? Something ice?
Maximum Ice. Do you not know
What
what
the
that is?
hell is that?
Okay, you're showing your age. I don't know if they still sell it. I think it's like its selling point was it had a little bit more alcohol than the other beer.
Oh,
Like
okay.
if beer's 5% on average, let's say Maximum Ice was like 6.1, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, Maximum Ice. I've never heard of that.
Okay, I don't know if it's an East Coast thing or maybe it's just something that they haven't sold in a long time. But I'm not a beer drinker. But when Brian mentioned Maximum Ice, I can picture the box and
You're like, memories.
yeah. Let's move on to another one. This is darker than Brian's story. This is Amelia's kidnapping creep in Calgary. Alberta's getting a lot of love tonight, aren't they?
I was just gonna say, I wouldn't use the word love, but
They're getting a lot of attention. We had the
yes.
pet exposer, the online dating creep. Now let's hear Amelia's creep, kidnapping creep in Calgary.
I don't like where this is going.
Hi, Jordan and Madelayne. This is Amelia, and I'm calling to share one of my creep encounters from many years ago when I lived in Calgary, Alberta. So this happened in the late 90s. At the time, I lived in sort of the downtown area, and I worked at an office building for a municipal health department on 17th Avenue Southwest. So kind of like downtown still, but uptown Red Mile. Really trendy now, but it was not a lot to look at in the late 90s. Anyway, um, I ride my bike to work every day and I lock it up in the bike rack in front of the building where I'm working. And every day it's the same thing. Lock the bike, walk in, say hi to the security guard, take the elevator up to my floor, get to work. And so there I am, Discman on, and I'm dating myself here, but for those of you listening who aren't old enough to remember what that is, it's basically a portable CD player that skipped every time you moved. So I've got my Discman on and I'm concentrating on the lock and listening to music and not super paying attention to my surroundings. And then all of a sudden, I feel arms coming around me from behind. And before I can really put two and two together, I am literally being dragged down the street by a stranger. And I can't see who it is because he's behind me. But I very quickly figure out, like, this guy is trying to kidnap me, essentially. So I start screaming, and I mean bloody murder, full volume, kicking up a storm. And the security guard in my office building, I don't know if he just saw what happened or if he probably heard me screaming. And he ran outside and chased this guy off. He let me go right away, like dropped me to the ground and took off running. The security guard didn't catch up with him. And I don't know why to this day, but we didn't call the police. So that's it. To this day, I really don't know what would have happened if that security guard hadn't been there. So there you go, a creep from Calgary many, many years ago.
That's wild.
It's more than a creep. Someone tried to abduct her. A security guard saved her life, and nothing came of it.
Too many stories tonight are actually illegal. And I don't like when it gets into predator territory.
Yeah.
It's gross.
And there are shades of illegal. In this case with Amelia, it's certainly illegal to grab someone and run off with them.
Well, and yeah, so this begs the question, was he watching her because he knew her routine? Was this just like random? He decided to grab her. How was there no one else around other than the security guard? Thank God. But like, and so early in the morning, ugh.
There would be a lot of people because she said I wasn't so much downtown, but I was close enough to downtown. There'd be people around.
Right.
I would think in Calgary in the 90s, the chances of you just being approached by some random nut that grabs you is not that it's high, but it could happen. I don't think this is something where she was being followed and stalked and this was this guy's chance. I think it was more so she was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, regardless.
But it's kind of hard to say. In her telling of what happened, given what happened, it's pretty light. I feel like I would have remembered every detail of it because sounds to me like a very traumatic event.
Oh, it is. She almost got kidnapped.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or even if it wasn't kidnapped, even just being grabbed and dragged by someone. As a man, if someone did that to me, it would still be traumatic. But as a woman, I feel like it'd probably be even worse.
Right. Yeah. It's, we don't know what he was trying to do, whether it was kidnapping or something worse, but
he definitely wasn't trying to steal her bike. How about that?
Right. And like she said, what would have happened had that security guard not been there? What was his end game?
I should also say, and you probably know this as well as anyone else listening, security guards nowadays are a different breed than in the 90s.
Yes.
I feel like in the 90s would be a security guard that would jump in and intervene. I feel like if something like that happened today, a lot of security guards would be like, well, I'm only worrying about what's happening in here. Like, I feel like security guards nowadays don't do jack.
Security guards back in the day, like, they took their jobs seriously. Like, the security guard that had to patrol the McDonald's by my high school, he was working overtime.
Oh yeah, that'd be a tough job, man, in Regina.
Job very seriously.
Yeah, well, you had to. You got to be tough to do it. But I feel like now security guards in stores, it's a whole different kind of thing. And for one, there's so many of them. So many businesses have security guards who just kind of meander around the store, not really doing anything.
Well, because it's not worth getting stabbed over a dollar store Mars bar. Like,
exactly. Amelia, I'm glad you're all right. Thank you for sharing the story. And I must say, given that it was a dark story, she was so pleasant. She was this flowery telling of this very unsavory story. I got a good one here, though. This one actually came in anonymous. I don't think that's because someone wanted to hide their identity. I think they were just so caught up in their story they never thought to tell us their name. But this is in response to a story we heard in volume 32. This is a catcalling victim from Edmonton sharing a story. Another Alberta story. What's happening there?
Alberta's always acting up.
We like good catcalling stories. This is one.
We do.
I just listened to your latest Encounters with Creeps, and I absolutely am floored. It was by far the best one. Your very final one, your palate cleanser at the end, where it was like the guy with the accent and how, like she thought it was a creep, and then turns out it was just innocent. Anyway.
I just want to pause it. If you recall, at the end of volume 32, our palate cleanser was a young woman working in Cape Breton, and she was helping a guy who was like a tourist, and she thought he was complimenting her arse.
And he said again, "I love your ass." And I said, "Sir, excuse me?" And he said, "Your ass," and pointed up at his eyes. So in that moment, I thought he was telling me that he loved my ass.
It's all coming back now.
That's what she's referencing, but here we go.
I have one that's similar as not at all about a guy with an accent, but it's a story where they were creeps, but in the end, it was fine. So it was about 25 years ago, and me and my sister and her two little girls, like they were little, they were only, the youngest was probably 3, and then the older one was 6. And so they're in car seats in the back of my car, and my windows are tinted on the back, like the back row of my SUV is tinted, so you can't see in. And I'm driving in Edmonton, and my sister and I are in the front seat. So this is 25 years ago, and honestly, we were in our early 20s. We were total babes. I mean, come on, like we were. And I mean, lots has changed in 25 years. But anyway, well, no, don't care about that. But we're driving in downtown Edmonton, Alberta, in major traffic on a Saturday, and we're headed to the mall because that's what you do. And this limo pulls up beside us in traffic, and we can't get away from them because there's so much traffic. And these super drunk men on their way to a wedding are wind down their window in the back of this limo, and they're just wasted. They're in tuxedos, and it's just the men, it's just the groomsmen and whatever in there. And they're like, show us your tits, show us your tits. Like they're trying to get me to flash my boobs, and I'm driving, good grief. Anyway, so I just ignored them. I'm like, no, like that's not happening. Get away from me, right? And then anyway, they're like, come on, you're so sexy, show us your tits. And they're like hanging out the window, banging, literally knocking on my window because they're so close because we're in traffic. And I'm like, no. And I'm like, get lost, right? Like, this is not going to happen. In what world would I ever do this? This is not happening. So anyway, they will not get away because they can't get away. I can't get away from them because we're stuck in this stupid traffic jam. And then finally, my niece is like, what's going on, Auntie? Right? Like, she's behind me. So I just rolled down her window so they could see that I had 2 little babies in the back seat. And they were like, oh my God, we're so sorry. We are so sorry. We apologize. And like, they wound up their window. Oh my God, it was so funny. Thinking about it now, it was so funny. And my little niece, who's 6 at the time, she's like mortified that I wound down the window and showed them that there were children in the car. And they fortunately took off, and eventually the traffic got going. And so anyway, they were creepy. It was aggressive, but at the same time, in the end, nothing bad happened. I mean, they did feel bad, and they probably will think twice before ever doing that again, hopefully. Anyway.
That was a gamble on how she handled that. It did work out, and it must have been a very sobering moment for these young men.
I just know that the groom was inside the limo, like mortified, because
Yeah.
this was all the groomsmen. I know that. Well, I hope.
I hope,
I
yeah.
hope.
His
But
idiot friends.
I'm really caught between like, why would they be so obnoxious anyway? Like kids are not, but then also that's really funny.
It is kind of funny how it plays out. I'm not. Yeah, it's awful what they were doing, but maybe like did they show their true colors by hanging out the window and shouting this stuff at her, or did they show their true colors by being like, "Oh shit."
Right.
Sorry.
So when they saw the kids, they reacted the correct way. They not only apologized, but they acted right. But let's say the kids weren't even part of the equation. Let's just say they were obnoxiously asking women to show them their breasts. Um, so okay, fine. I'm not a prude. Whatever. Lean out the limo, ask, yell, fine. Haha. But when I say no, fuck off. Get
Yeah.
back in the limo and roll that window back up. Like
Yeah.
it was a funny ask. When I'm like, go away, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's where I'm kind of conflicted here.
Yeah, I'm conflicted too by this story. I think I imagine it's a situation where they had too much to drink and they were egging each other on, just being absolute jerks and idiots. They were pushing it too far, as you said, and you make some very good points there. Fortunately, their better sense caught up with them when they saw the kids, and this turned from like I think it's turned from a creep story into just like a stupid idiot drunk group of guys story.
Right. Now let's play a game.
Okay.
Let's say there were 6 men in 6 groomsmen. We're not going to count the groom. How
Yeah.
many of them do you think had a girlfriend or wife?
Oh.
I'm gonna say 4 out of the 6.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But I think it was one of the ones that didn't that kind of started this whole thing. And
Yeah,
it probably started way down the road with one of them yelling out the window at someone.
totally.
And then someone like tried to one up him, and someone tried to one up him. And then all of a sudden,
Well, and then they saw the 2
yeah.
babes, and then they saw the 2 really good looking ones, and they were like, there,
And
there
they're
they are.
hanging out the windows, and it's, and it all built up to this, and it's all been fueled by Labatt Maximum Ice or other alcoholic beverages. And fortunately, better sense caught up with them when she took the chance and rolled down her back window. But again, that was a real leap of faith to do that, because that could have gotten really bad.
Yeah, thank God it didn't.
Mhm.
But it didn't, so now it's a nice, funny story. And that's great.
It's a funny story, but it was teetering on the edge of being a not funny story. And there are probably a lot of people listening who say there's nothing funny about that. And I agree with them as well.
Definitely. Yes. Oh, it's all subjective, man. It's
Yeah,
all
it is.
subjective.
Let's go to a story that I don't think is going to be very subjective. This is Shay's way over the top creep that she met outside of 7-Eleven. This is one of your favorite genres of creep stories, and that's the creep who shows their penis directly to the person. Here it comes.
And I also love gas station stories, specifically 7-Eleven. They're like the Waffle House of gas stations.
Yeah, and we're going to the US for this one. I think this is out of Connecticut. Here it comes.
Nice.
Hi, my name is Shay. I'm from Connecticut. Connecticut people were not known to be super friendly, but I was feeling a little friendly, and a random man came up to my car at 7-Eleven, of all places, and asked me if I knew where Brown Street was. I did not know where Brown Street was, so I was like, hey, let me look at that for you. I take out my phone, I go to my GPS, and I type in Brown Street. I'm looking down at my phone. I'm like, I don't see this here. I look up, and this man has his whole penis out, and he is, jerking himself off in my window while I was just trying to be a nice person. And I instantly rolled the window up. Of course, I yelled many, many obscenities at him. And he went away because I was loud. I was very, very loud. And he ran away. I went inside to the 7-Eleven. I tell the cashier, I'm like, hey, so this just happened. Do you guys have videos? Because I'm about to call the police. The cashier told me, no, we don't. I'm sorry, what? You, what? And I was like, no, there's cameras outside. Like what's going on? Was not cooperating. I called the police. They were like, are you sure? They asked me if I was sure. Like, sir, lady, ma'am. Yes, I am sure. I am sure. It was the worst experience ever because nothing ended up happening with that. So, honey boo boos of the 860, if you end up going to Rockville, Connecticut, you may end up running into the Dick Bandit. 0 out of 10 recommend. Stay away. Stay away.
That story kind of calls back to our pet store thing. It's a very similar experience. I guess it's like a kink, a fetish, and it's a illegal and awful, vile one. But it must not be that uncommon because we've heard many stories on Encounters with Creeps, now 33 volumes, that involve very similar things as this.
I just hope that if anything like that ever happens to me, that I'm not so flustered. I can think quick enough to that specific situation. That's an invitation to punch him in the dick directly.
Oh, but would you do that?
Right. So I'm thinking, I don't want to make contact. So I'd roll my window up and very, very forcefully open the door.
Oh, you
and then
door
yell.
him in the dick.
Yeah. And then depending on how much damage that did, we would take it from there. More or less.
Use
we'll
your
see.
foot. There's a lot you could do. Yeah.
But I know in the moment you're just like, um, uh, like
You would
fight or
be
flight,
so
right?
caught off guard because she's thinking like, where is Brown Street? Like, I'm not finding any Brown Street in this town, and she wants to
Right.
help this guy.
It's just you're so caught off guard, and it's just like this is not normal. What's going on? Yeah.
And imagine how sick you got to be and how much of a creep you got to be that you're like, oh, there's a girl alone in the car. I'm going to do that thing. I'll ask her to look up something on her phone. And
And like I don't, is it confidence or like because that takes balls, no pun.
Mhm.
Like are they not scared of law enforcement?
I bet you this guy's been arrested for a million sketchy, weird things.
Right. I don't commit crimes because I'm scared of being
Mm-mm.
caught. You
Yeah,
know?
but I think once you've been caught a few times and you realize very little actually happens to you, especially if you're
True.
like, down and out and got all this horrible stuff going on, I feel like nothing happens to these people.
I never thought of it that way because I'm like, I would never want to, not be able to leave the country but they probably already all have criminal
Yeah.
records, so that's a
And I
non-issue for
bet you if
them.
this guy was caught for doing this, the police officers in this community would look at his file and be like, oh, yeah, this guy's a voyeur. He's been doing this shit forever. Nothing's going to happen to this guy until he takes the next step and takes it further, sadly.
And even then,
Yeah.
will anything
Yeah,
happen?
it's a very good point. But this was an interesting block of listener contributed stories. It's going to get a little bit darker. Let's take our final break. When we come back, I have a story about a realtor in BC that we really need to hear. This is one, not a listener contributed story, thank God, because this is one that goes a whole lot further, but one that a lot of people should know about. We'll get into it after a quick break. Miss Madelayne Klein, I have a story coming out of Surrey, BC that's rather shocking. It's one that's been in the news over the last couple of weeks, and it's I think everyone should know this as a bit of a cautionary tale, especially for real estate agents. A real estate agent in Surrey, BC is going public after a creep encounter with a potential client. This is a story that involves a fake billionaire who's a liar and is certainly dangerous. Listen to this.
I was scared before I even left my house.
Realtor Serrana Gutierrez describes a bizarre meeting with a potential client that took place in the basement suite of a Surrey home.
He mentioned that he has wealthy family in Saudi Arabia who are billionaires. He wanted to fly me out on his private jet to Dubai.
He would touch her leg, and every time she wanted to leave, he would turn the conversation around, at one point even saying her car had just been towed.
And he calls a towing company. He doesn't maybe know that I can hear them on the other end. And he's saying, hey, you just towed a car from my house. You need to bring it back. And they're like, oh, what's the address? He gives them the address. And they're like, we didn't tow a car from that house.
The man went outside to check on her car, and that's when she left. Turns out he used an alias. Surrey police are investigating, saying there is a similar incident.
And we've since discovered that there was another incident with a similar MO on April the 7th. But in that case, a real estate agent did not go into the basement suite.
Agents are reminded to pre-screen clients, share your location with someone through your phone, have meetings in public spaces, and consider using safety apps for real estate professionals. Surrey police notified the Fraser Valley Real Estate Board, who alerted its members about the interactions.
That is shocking, but not really surprising. Creeps will find people who their occupation puts them in kind of like this position of servitude. And if you can present yourself as like, I'm this millionaire and I want to, buy houses or sell houses or whatever, I could see, for one, there's a huge financial incentive to trust this person and go with them. But just the nature of the job, you're alone with someone showing them houses and stuff. I'm not sure I'm surprised there's not more stories like this.
There might be, and they're just unreported. But I'm just a little confused. I need you to clarify. So, why was this real estate agent in the basement suite? Was he looking at it to potentially buy it? Did he live there? What's happening here?
Well, either it was a real estate transaction. They probably kept some of that info private for a reason, but he was probably buying or wanting to sell. I'm thinking since they can't identify him, he was probably using a fake name and wanting to buy something.
Okay.
Because like if you contacted a real estate agent and were interested in buying a house and you wanted to see it, they'd take you to show it to you and see if you wanted to buy it. And if you were a billionaire from Dubai and all this stuff, you could get them to show you some pretty nice places and get them a loan.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, just every part of this is weird and creepy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, if she could never meet with a strange man again in
Mhm.
private, I would be really, really happy.
Yeah, but real estate agents, like that's a part of their job. Like they're alone with people that they don't know.
I
That could
guess,
be
hey?
that could be dangerous. And even a part of their job and a part of their training and what they do is when they're showing a house, they in the back of their not even in the back of their mind, what they do is when they bring you into a room, they always keep their back to the door. That's
Oh,
something real estate agents do to protect themselves. They're taught and trained to show a house, but do it in a way where you're always the one you can always get out of the room, so you're not like cornered and stuff like that
well,
because
good.
of stories like this. But this
You're
guy
right.
had
I'm
seen,
surprised there aren't more.
yeah, but this guy was trying to do something. He was this whole thing with like trying to convince her car was towed.
That's weird. This is
Yeah.
this is all strange. Like, was he
Mhm.
trying to keep her there? And this is also where I got confused because I'm like, well, does he already live there? Why is he calling a
Yeah,
tow truck?
it
What's going
must
on?
be. Yeah, and then I don't know how it works in Surrey, but in some cities, real estate agents also show apartments.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay, this
Th-
makes more sense as well.
And maybe that's what it was, because like in larger cities, it wouldn't be uncommon to deal with a real estate agent to help you find an apartment, and they would take you to show you apartments.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
I
So
had no
it
idea.
could have been something like that as well. It certainly wasn't something he was trying to sell, because if so, would have they would have had an easier time identifying this guy who seems to be doing it with multiple people. Because the in
Right.
that news clip we heard there was another similar MO kind of report, which I'm sure is the same guy. This is someone who's just doing this, and now that it's in the news, he's probably scared off for a little while.
I hope so. Or he's just scared off to a different city.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, real estate agents or anyone that are alone with people in their occupation. Yeah, be careful out there. Let's start putting a bow on this, putting a dog collar on this, I could even say. We have one final story to go out on. I usually will try to go out on a palate cleanser. This story, though, I think even more so than the real estate agent story, is just a general warning for people out there. This is a cautionary tale on why you need to make sure your doors are locked before you go to bed. This is the story of a Calgary woman, again, Alberta, a Calgary woman who's going public reminding people to lock their doors after surveillance footage showed a man walking into her home around 2 a.m. while she was asleep on the couch.
Oh my
Listen to this
God.
nightmare fuel.
It's a split-second sound, but in an instant, a sense of security can be broken inside one's home. A simple click, Brooklyn Fox won't soon go to bed without.
You never think it's going to happen to you until it happens.
Brooklyn's a student at MRU, recently finishing her semester. After a long day on Monday, she says she passed out on the couch.
I just didn't get the chance to check to make sure the doors were locked.
As Brooklyn's boyfriend Avery left for work the next morning, he saw something was off.
I had noticed that the front door was cracked open, like 4 inches. So as I noticed that, I was like, huh, that's kind of weird.
He asked her to check the security cameras. That's when she saw a man on her front porch looking in their windows around 2 a.m. Moments later, he walks inside, with Brooklyn sleeping on the couch just meters away.
That is probably one of the scariest feelings I've ever felt. Like, I wasn't sure if he was still in the house. The video kind of ended right with him walking in.
He wasn't inside very long. Neighbor surveillance video shows the man outside Brooklyn's home minutes later.
These were the two colors that he took.
Police say there were several break-and-enters in the area that night and don't believe Brooklyn's home was targeted. Brooklyn and her boyfriend are now making some changes.
I think I'm going to just always lock it no matter what.
Maybe it's time to purchase those automatic locks.
They kind of gloss over that, but what this guy did is he went into their home, and it seems that the only thing he stole was a couple dog collars.
And like, did he watch her sleep? That's so creepy. So violating. That poor girl. And she sounds really young.
Yeah, and if you watch the news clip, that audio is from, they air the video doorbell footage of this guy, and he's he's terrifying looking. Yeah, he looks like exactly the kind of person who you wouldn't want sneaking in your home at 2 a.m. when you're asleep. Why he decided to steal dog collars, maybe in the dark, he thought it was like, something a bit more expensive. And since she had the dog collars in her hands, he must have just dropped them when he got outside of the house and got a better look at them. But at least this didn't seem to be a targeted thing. He hit multiple homes in the area. So he was going from place to place, seemingly looking to steal things rather than touch people while they're sleeping.
Which is great. But if he could not do that at all, that would be awesome. But, so he stole dog collars? Worst guard dogs ever.
That's a good point. Where are the dogs at in this?
The dogs are on the bed, like sleeping.
On the other
couch. Think about what Penny would do. She'd be out.
Oh my God. I feel bad for the creep who tries to walk in here at 2 a.m. because they're going to get it. You know what? If you drive by my house with a loud muffler, you're going to get it from my girl.
Oh, really?
Any noise. It could be, if you pull in 3 driveways away, Penny will wake us all up. So
what if they come in with milk bones?
She would, even if she's excited, she's still violent and vicious. If she sees her best friend, everyone's awake and she's jumping and biting, and having a dog in your house is definitely it gives me a big peace of mind at night. I have no fear of anyone coming in my area. Also, I have the video doorbells like she does, and I make sure I lock my door every night. I have this going to bed routine where I press the buttons on my my car keys that you press the lock twice and then it makes your horn beep. I make sure my car is locked, and then I double check my locks on my door every night before I go to sleep. And I think everyone needs to do that. You need to make your routine going to bed I take my medicine, I brush and floss, I have a little drink of water, check all my locks, and then I go to bed.
I don't need to do that because I automatically lock my door, the deadlock. Automatically, as soon as I get in, I lock it. So much so. Do you remember when I locked my husband out of the house a couple summers ago?
Yes.
Yes, I had to go into work and he was doing yard work and he was outside with the cat, and I locked both doors before I left, and he didn't have his phone. And he had to carry the cat to his sister's. And you said that you would, I was telling you what happened and I felt so bad, and you were like, if that were me, you'd be looking for apartments tonight.
Did he ever get over it?
No, he still brings it up. And I've actually done it a couple times in the last 2 weeks. We'll both be outside or in the garage, and I come in first and I lock him out. It's a habit. It's a good habit to have, though.
Yeah. If he gives you a hard time, just play him volume 33 of Encounters with Creeps and make sure he listens to the very end.
That's what I tell people. Listen to this, and you have to listen till the very end.
I think we did it, volume 33, much like the prior volumes. This was a good one. I enjoyed the stories our listeners contributed, and I think the stories that we were able to pull out of the newspapers, the modern day newspapers, which is, video news reports. I think they tell a compelling and fascinating story, an entertaining story, and one that gives us all a little bit of a lesson.
I also really loved how much nostalgia was in tonight's episode. We were talking about Discmans and Maximum Ices and drunk groomsmen and limos. Oh, but I was just thinking, if that was the late 90s and she automatically rolled down their back windows, they had a nice car.
If it was electric windows.
They had a nice car back then.
Yeah, that's a good point. Discmen were such an awful era. I hated it because I rode a skateboard all the time, and there'd be enough bumping around that your Discman would always skip. So even in the era when everybody had Discmen, I always had a regular cassette tape player, a cassette player.
Okay. You see, I loved Discmen until MP3s came out, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Well, MP3 players were just the bomb, but they were pricey in the beginning. And I remember I had an MP3 player that I could only fit 8 songs on. So every night I would change the songs, and then I'd go, the walk to work the next day. I'd have 8 new songs to listen to. We take that stuff for granted so much now.
We really do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're getting off topic anyway.
We're way off topic. For anyone listening, if you have a story to share, and I know you do, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact. use the voice recorder and tell us about your encounter with creep. And if you didn't have one, but some creepy thing happened in your community, let us know about that as well. And if you had liquor bought for you when you were underage by a creepy over 19-year-old, we want to hear about that person, because I'm sure that's also an untapped resource of creep encounters.
We could probably do a full episode of just those.
What would that podcast be called? The Guy That Got Me Liquor.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of the Canadian Gothic. I want to end here with a huge and sincere thank you to everyone who took the time to share their creep encounters with us. As always, these stories are an often entertaining reminder to keep our eyes open and our wits about us. And to any other listeners out there who have a creep story to share, we want to hear from you. Go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and send us a voice message. The voice recorder is very easy to use, and don't worry if you make any mistakes or misspeak, as I'll edit it before it goes to air and make sure we all sound our best. We're excited to hear your story. And with that said, I'm going to start wrapping up this episode, but before I do, I have a few more thanks to pass out. First, a big thanks to Madelayne for sharing another evening with me and with you, the creeped out listeners of the Canadian Gothic. I want to give a shout out to Monty, Datta, who contributes the music for this show, and Linz from the Dystopian Simulation podcast, who provides our intro and outro voiceovers. And then lastly, but most importantly, a massive thank you goes out to each and every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this show would be as pointless as it would be impossible. Now, on the topic of support, let me thank the newest subscribers to our premium feed. Paddy Duddy, Helen, and Sonneman, we appreciate you. And for anyone else who'd like to support the show, you can do it in a variety of ways. First of all, a premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes of the show. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes 2 days early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a back catalog of episodes. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if you don't want to go premium, you can still support the show by sharing this episode on social media and telling all your like-minded friends about the show. Your support is very much appreciated. So with all that said, until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and let me know if you see anything weird.
Thank you for listening to Canadian Gothic.